So many of us live under invisible scripts. What kind of job we should have, who we should marry, what kind of parent or daughter or friend we should be. Someone once told me, I woke up at 35 realizing I built a life that impressed everyone else, but it didn't fulfill me. This whole video is about peeling off layers, reclaiming your identity, and creating a version of you that feels real. The takeaway from this is you can't live your fullest life wearing someone else's expectations. Lesson number 1, recognizing the labels you've outgrown. My cousin was always known as the responsible one. She handled family emergencies, she kept the peace with everybody, she paid her bills early, she helped our elderly aunts and uncles pay their bills early. And one day she said, I want to be more than the family fixer. She started traveling, doing solo traveling, taking dance lessons, things that had nothing to do with being responsible for everyone else. And I think the takeaway from that is outgrowing a role doesn't mean you failed it. It means that you're evolving. And so I always commend her to this day for doing that. Like, for realizing that, you know what, I don't want to be the fixer. Like, I postured myself in this family as the fixer, and I no longer want that role or title because nothing about it is fulfilling for me anymore. But what I do want to do is I want to go solo traveling and I want to find peace in my corner of the world. I want to find happiness for me. I want to take dance classes. I want to go outside of my comfort zone and do things that I want to do and not what other people are expecting of me. So, recognizing the labels that you've outgrown. Lesson number 2, separating who you are from what you do. A man lost his job after 25 years, and he said, I didn't know who I was without that title. And I can relate to that because I am still laid off. I have been laid off twice within the last within 5 months apart from each other. And I can relate to feeling like you're lost without a title. And he eventually realized that the things that he loved to do, like gardening, volunteering, and photography, he realized that he was more than his resume. And I had to realize that too. Like, I am more than my resume, I'm more than a job title. And getting laid off, it's a form of grief. But as you are going through the grief, you realize, like, I'm more than a title. I'm more than showing up on a job and exhausting myself by working overtime and all of these hours and working on all of these different projects and things of that nature. I'm more than that. And rediscovering who you are and the things that you like, and not getting stuck in this mundane cycle of going to work every day, hustling at work, trying to, stay on top of things at work for appearances, but really inside you aren't happy. And so I think the takeaway from that is our worth isn't tied to our job title, our income, or our productivity. Our worth is we're worthy just because we are, just because we exist, we're worthy. Lesson number 3, questioning the shoulds in our life. A friend said that she stayed in a relationship because she felt she should. And she told me she realized she was living by someone else's rule book. How many of y'all can relate to that? I can definitely relate to that. Like, you're living from somebody else's rule book. You're living from what you feel someone else expects of you. And she left and she started over. And she said it was scary at first, but guess what? It was the most freeing thing that she could have ever done. So I think the takeaway from that is every time you say you should, ask, is this my desire or is this society's script for me? Because for some of us, that's all we know is society's script. I bet if someone asks us, who are you? No, who are you really? the first thing we'll say is, oh, I am the CEO. Oh, I am director of so and so department. But no, outside of those titles, outside of those society scripts, like, who are you really? Lesson number 4: breaking free from family and cultural pressure. My coworker grew up in a culture where everyone got married by 25. She stayed single until she was 40. And she said, I got tired of explaining myself, so I stopped. Now she's living life on her timeline and no one else's. And I think the takeaway from that is, you owe people respect, but not explanations for living your truth. So, so you don't have to explain. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've heard people ask my single friends who are 30 and above, like, what are you waiting on? When are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? You know, um, we owe people respect, but we don't owe them any explanation for living in our truth. And if you are single and you're 40, 50, 60, that's your choice. You don't have to explain that away. That is your choice. And you are out here living your best life. Lesson number 5: embracing passions that others may not understand. A mom I know, she started roller skating at 50. Her kids teased her until she told them, I'm allowed to do things that make me feel alive. She joined a skating group, and she told me, I haven't felt this much joy in years. And when I tell you, she be getting it on the skating rink, you hear me? She be getting it on the skating floor. Like, I can tell she's happy and she's doing what she loves. My husband, he absolutely positively finds his joy on the golf course. Like, he smiles when he talks about golf. He gets excited when he talks about golf. He gets excited when he gets new golf clubs. He gets excited when he goes on the golf course alone. He gets excited when he goes with friends. He plays music on the golf course. It's just his happy place. And the takeaway from that is, you don't need permission to love what you love. You don't need permission to love what you love. If my husband loves playing golf, he don't need permission to from anybody to do that. Like, if that is his happy place, he can do that. Me turning music on, um, and blasting it, and dancing in my room, that's my happy place. Traveling is my happy place. That is my happy place. And I don't need permission to love what I love, and neither do you. Lesson number 6: redefining success on your own terms. A friend of mine quit corporate law to open a bookstore cafe. And she said, people thought I was throwing away my degree, and I was actually saving my peace. That's a bar right there. People thought that I was throwing away my degree, but I was actually saving my peace. She quit corporate law to open up a bookstore cafe. That's what gave her more peace than working in a law firm, than doing corporate law. She was stressed out all the time. She was busy all time. She, life was passing her by. She was missing milestone moments with her kids because she had to travel a lot. And it became a heavy burden for her. And she made the decision on her own. She stepped back from her life and she realized that, you know what? I got to redefine success, and I need to redefine it on my terms. And I don't care what other people say. This is what's best for me and my family. And I applaud her for that. Like, she's my hero, like one of my heroes. Like, I applaud her for that. And I think the takeaway from that is, success isn't about applause, y'all. It's about alignment with our values. Alignment with our values. It isn't about who's over here clapping for us because we got this promotion and that promotion, but it's about aligning with our values. Like, what is it that we value? And the older I get, the more, I value family and friends, and making sure that I spend time with them and continuously cultivating that relationship with them. Lesson number 7: healing after a life transition that changed your identity. Um, A man that I know lost his spouse, and he said, I didn't know who I was without being a husband. Therapy and community groups helped him rediscover himself. He said, I'm learning who I am all over again. And how many of you can relate to that? I know I can. You know, sometimes we get lost in our spouses. Sometimes we get lost in our jobs. Sometimes we get lost in parenting. Um, I was talking to my niece the other day, and her boyfriend was saying how um, his mother have gotten lost in parenting, where she, doesn't know who she is now that her kids are older. And we see that all the time. Um, and I think the takeaway from that is that life transitions often feel like identity crises. They're actually invitations for us to rebuild. And so I think that when we go through things like being empty nesters or, not having our spouses around anymore because they are deceased, or our parents around anymore because they're deceased, or our kids around because they are in college now, and moving on with their life, I think that we have to like readjust and be willing to readjust and rebuild. Um, and realizing that those moments are actually invitations for us to rebuild, and it's okay. Um, but we have to always remember that putting ourselves first is not selfish. It's not selfish. We got to um, learn how to exist in these relationships, these parenting relationships, these marriages, and all of that, without losing ourselves. And the way we do that, and I know I say this in all of my videos, but the way we do that is learning to love, to spend time by ourselves. Because when we do that, we don't get lost in other people. We come home to ourselves. And the only way you can come home to yourself is to spend time with yourself. If you're away from home, in the streets, you can't come home to yourself. But the way we do that is to spend time, quality time with ourselves. Lesson number 8, finding your voice after years of silence. Silence. My aunt told me that she stayed quiet in her marriage for 20 years to keep the peace. After her divorce, she started writing poetry. She said, I finally found my voice. The takeaway from that is that your voice matters, even if it shakes when you first use it. Your voice matters. So again, like I was saying earlier, like knowing, realizing that like we can't lose ourselves in relationships. We can't lose ourselves in our marriages. Sometimes we suppress things in relationships and in friendships. Um, and so, and then what we have to do is we have to do like my aunt did. We have to find our voice again. We have to find our voice again. And that takes time to find that rhythm, but then we finally find it and we feel more grounded. I think that when we are suppressing who we really are, we are doing ourselves a disservice. But when we find our voice in our life, we evolve into better, amazing people. Lesson number 8, surrounding yourself with people who see the real you. A friend said she felt fake around certain people, but alive around others. She told me the people who love the real me are the ones I keep close now. And that's so amazing. Like, you know, if you feel fake around people, it's not worth it. Like, it's not worth like having to readjust yourself, or readjust who you are because you can't be yourself. You can't be yourself around somebody that you're calling a friend, then you have to reevaluate that friendship. Um, I think the takeaway from that is that the right people in your life, they don't need you to perform. They need you to just be you. The right people in your life, accept you for you, accept you for who you are. And that's okay, you know? And that's enough, you know? Lesson number 10, celebrating the version of you that feels authentic. My neighbor said that um, she stopped waiting for the world to approve her happiness. She started selling her birthdays alone, her milestones quietly, and her dreams out loud. So, celebrating the version of you that feels authentic, not waiting. I have a friend, I can't say this enough, but I have a friend who she really gets frazzled and, really upset when friends don't come through for her on her birthday. Like she expects like friends to like plan her like this big shindig for her birthday. And one year she that her friends didn't do that. Like they didn't plan it or whatever. And I told her, I said, well, why don't you plan it for yourself? Like for me, every year for my birthday, I plan what I want to do, what is going to make me happy, what is going to make me feel the most authentic and seen on my birthday. And that may look like me going on a solo trip. That may look like me going on a trip with my family. That may look like me going on a trip half and half with my family and then the other half of the trip with my friends. Um, that may look like me renting a venue and throwing a party and we dancing all night together. But I am doing it. I'm creating what I want for my birthday. Like I'm not looking for anyone else to fill that void for me. Um and so I think the takeaway in that is to celebrate the version of you that feels authentic, even if nobody else claps, even if nobody else shows up for you. You cultivating that version of you that feels authentic, celebrating those milestones and not, waiting for someone else to celebrate them for you or with you. And then dreaming out loud, going for your dreams out loud, doing those things that you've always wanted to do, but doing what it is that make you feel authentic. Reclaiming your identity isn't about burning down the old version of you. It's not about that. It's about choosing the version that feels free, that feels whole, that feels real, beyond the noise of what everyone else expects. I hope this video helped you. I really enjoyed talking about this topic. And if it helps you, I want you to share it with somebody else. And I want to hear from you in the comments. I want you to talk to me about celebrating the version of you that feels authentic and not going with societal norms. I want to hear from you. And if this video helped you, I want you to share it. Share it with somebody. And I love you guys. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.